Hi, this is Shanker, and today being 15th August, I want to make a video on Saturn. But this video is basically a video where I want to tell you about my experiments with Saturn, my experience with Saturn, and it's an extempore video. We can discuss with it. You can talk to me correctingminds@gmail.com. There are certain indicators which I'm going to tell you. Let us understand what Saturn is. We all know Saturn stands for structure, order, and discipline on one hand. On the other hand, Saturn also stands for delays, frustrations, and large number of negative things which can happen with Saturn. Saturn is a kingmaker. There is no politician, there is no businessman, there is no general or a president of any country who can come to that position without the help of Saturn. So Saturn is a kingmaker. Saturn is very important. Saturn rules masses. Saturn rules democracy. So whenever masses, democracy, and people are involved, then the businessman and politician are actually the vector, the results of the people, and how they deal with the workers and how they take workers around them. So Saturn becomes very important for businessmen and politicians. So Saturn is the kingmaker. Saturn is very critical. Now let us understand. We all know about Saturn in terms of where it is in good houses. It is not very comfortable with Aries and Scorpio. It is very comfortable. It is exalted in Libra. Very comfortable with the signs of Venus, Taurus, and Libra. It is also very comfortable with Mercury, that is Gemini and Virgo. But whenever it is in Gemini and Virgo, I've seen it also gives a share of problems. It gives us negative results and also its positive results. You have to understand it properly to actually understand the impact of Saturn when it is in Gemini and Virgo. It is not good for Cancer. It is not good for Leo. Leo sign, it is very good when it is an own sign. Capricorn, Aquarius as a sign today rules communication. It rules electronics. It rules the waves which are there. I mean, today anything is not possible without the airwaves. So it is a sign Aquarius which rules airwaves, and Saturn today is the most important planet because of that. So Saturn is of course very comfortable in Capricorn and Aquarius. It's own signs. Exaltation. Libra, it is very good. In signs of Jupiter, it has got a relationship which has to be studied very carefully. But my belief is Saturn is good in when it is in Sagittarius and Pisces. So this is what Saturn is, and we all know this. Now, whenever we discuss Saturn is in terms of what I've explained to you, it has got a good relationship with Venus. It has got good relationship with Mercury, Sun and Moon. There are issues. Jupiter, it has to be seen in a very significant way, and I will get to this conjunction of these planets between Saturn, Sun, Saturn, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Rahu, Ketu as we progress in the video, because Saturn may be good for some aspects but may not be good for other aspects. Saturn, as far as houses are concerned, it is very strong in the 3rd house, 6th house, and 11th house. It makes you courageous in 3rd house, 6th house. Also, it can overpower your enemies. It is good for your daily routine work. You can be very good focused in your service. 11th house is for gains. It is also good in the 10th house. But 10th house, you have to seek caveats, and you have to always keep on seeing how it is there in the 10th house. So Saturn is good in 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th house, which we all know. Also, it is important that Saturn is a planet which actually is a planet for profession. In the Bhrigu Nadi system, Saturn is the key planet for profession. Saturn is also the planet which tells you the karmas you're coming with, the sanchit karma you come with, and which karmas will fructify because of your own efforts. Nothing can happen without your efforts. So, you are born as an energy, and that energy has certain amount of potential, let's put it that way. The amount of potential which will come up will depend upon the work put in by Saturn, and Saturn also typifies the total karma, the total potential which a particular energy has, and we all are energy balls, and as it is said that as outside, same is inside. So there is an element which is there, and this theory of the string theory, etc., is also getting, people are started discussing about it. So coming back, when we see Saturn, also give due respect to Navamsha. Navamsha is extremely important. Where Saturn is placed in Navamsha, with which planets it is in Navamsha, it is extremely critical. How it is in Navamsha, that is very important. Now, so that's another thing which has to be seen. Now let me come to certain aspects of Saturn. In my own thoughts, in my own research, in my own scene of seeing thousands of horoscope, I've seen that Saturn and Mars have a very important relationship, and especially when it is in transit. Whenever Saturn is transiting over Mars, Saturn is transiting opposite to Mars. Very important. Whenever Saturn aspects Mars by its third or 10th drishti, that is, there is a relationship between Saturn and Mars. Be sure that this is the time when you are going to have a very important change in your life. The change will be, and that is with respect to profession. The change will be positive or negative, will depend upon how strong your Mars is. I mean, your Mars as a planet with respect to your D1 chart, whether it's a malefic planet or a benefic planet, like in case of Kark Lagna, it's a Rajyo Karak, how strong Mars is. So that is one thing you have to see. And from where Saturn is aspecting your Mars, that is in which, that is the transiting Saturn. Mars, you have to see the natal Mars, and transiting part, you have to see Saturn, how it is during transit. Whether if it is, for example, if it's Saturn is transiting from your Aries and Mars is in Gemini, it is going to have a negative impact. But the crux of the whole thing is that now whenever you see Saturn over Mars, opposite to Mars, or Saturn, the transiting Saturn is aspecting a natal Mars by conjunction or by opposition or by aspect, there is going to be a change in life. That changes, and it's going to be major change. The change, whether it will be positive, negative, it will be a sudden downfall, it could be a sudden increase, will depend upon various aspects of things you have to see. Also remember, transit is always cannot be over and above what is there in the Dasha Bhukti. What the your chart has the potential, what the Dasha Bhukti typify, the transits will actually just point it and bring it to the focus. But profession is a very important thing, and this thing you'll always see that, I mean, whoever is seeing his charts, see it. I mean, and there is going to be a very, it is going to be a year of change for the positive and negative. I can't discuss it in this thing, but I've tried to tell you the basics. Also, when Saturn is transiting over your ascendant, I mean, whenever Saturn transits your ascendant, that is the time when a change is going to take place. Now, here also be very clear that whenever Saturn transits your ascendant, and the ascendant has the moon in it, right? Or moon is 2nd or 12th in your ascendant, and Saturn transits the ascendant and the moon, even during the Sadesati, it is going to give you very positive and very good results. So be clear on this, that Saturn, whenever it is transiting your ascendant or opposite your ascendant, it is going to bring changes. But whenever Saturn, even if it is the dreaded Sadesati, and Saturn is transiting your ascendant and moon together, it is going to be the best period of your life. It is going to be a very productive and a fruitful period. And test it out. I mean, I would always be more or less bank correct on this. Also, when you have seen Saturn, whenever it is aspecting your in transit, also whenever it is aspecting your 10th lord, I mean from the ascendant, 10th lord from the moon, or the 10th lord from your 10th house, whenever it aspects these three planets, not together, separately. I mean, whenever Saturn is aspecting the 10th house, which is from your ascendant, like if you have Cancer, then your 10th house becomes 10th house lord becomes Mars. If you have a Gemini, it would become Jupiter. And wherever your Saturn is placed, I mean, wherever your 10th house lord, 10th house is there, the 10th house from there is basically the 7th lord. So whenever Saturn is aspecting these three, it will give you a change in profession. I have always seen, depending on where Saturn is transiting, from which place Saturn should be transiting from a powerful point. I mean, if it is transiting from the point of exaltation or from a friend's house, it will be better. So depending on the transit of Saturn, these are the times when it will give you a positive impact on your career. And usually you will see I'm right, and try it. It will always give you a positive impact. Saturn also, when it transits over Rahu and Ketu, assuming they are in Kendra and Trikon and they are not afflicted by any other planet, it will do good for your profession. However, when Saturn transits Rahu, and Rahu is with planets like Surya, Mangal, or any other planets, then I mean you have to see it properly. It can give you extremely negative results also. Saturn also, when it transits Rahu, and Rahu Ketu are placed in 6th, 8th and 12th, it is bound to give negative results even there. So these are things which I have observed during the transits of Saturn. I mean, just to exemplify, Rahu and Ketu, when alone and in Kendra and Trikon, whenever Saturn transits over them, it will give you a good prop up. It will give you an enhancement in your profession. However, when Rahu is with other planets which are inimical to Rahu, like Surya, Chandrama and Rahu are together, and even if they're in Kendra and Trikon, you have to see the results, and they could be actually problematic results. Similarly, when Rahu and Ketu and 6th, 8th and 12th are in conjunct with even with the Lord of Kendras and Trikona, people say that the Rahu in conjunct with the Lord of Kendras and Trikona should give good results. But even if it is in Kendra, Trikona, or it will give you results which are not good. And even if they're in 6th, 8th and 12th, I mean the results would be extremely bad, not only your profession but also for your personal health. So that is how you have to, these are things which I have tested and tried as far as Saturn is concerned. Saturn, I mean, I'm just telling you the basics, but when we look at Saturn, you have to look at Saturn. I mean, it transits a nakshatra for about 13 months, 10 days, roundabout. And it also transits each sign. I mean, it covers each, there are four signs in each nakshatra. So each sign it covers in 3 months, 10 days. So you have to look at the nakshatra and also the part of the amsha it is transiting within there. I mean, the 4 parts, each nakshatra is divided as for 3 months, 10 days. And the relationship between these two as well as your natal chart, which requires a deep study, it gives you a very good understanding, at least for your professional part of it, as far as the professional part of it is concerned. So, of course, that is a matter of great research, and you have to develop with your own experience. And the best way is by keep on studying charts and understanding charts. So, there are certain things which I told you here. Now, let us come to conjunctions. Saturn and Surya, they do not augur well. Saturn and Surya, I've seen that whenever they're together, they will create friction between father and son. Even if they do not create friction between father and son, and assuming they're well placed also, they will lead to prosperity of only one person. When the father prospers, the son will not prosper, or vice versa. The son starts prospering and the father does not prosper, or the son prospers after the death of the father. So that is one thing which always would happen when Saturn and Surya are together. Saturn and Surya also is not very good for marriage. It creates issues as far as married life is concerned. Of course, there are a lot of stories which you have to understand, the deities who are behind Saturn, the way Surya functioned in its own way. I mean, there are stories which actually try to explain you what are the results. If you are interested, you should get into the deities and the background of the stories, which will actually make you clearer in terms of what happens when Saturn and Surya together. So they're not also good for marriage and marital aspects. However, Saturn and Sun, as I told you, can give, when well placed, can give great prosperity to father, and the son would enjoy the prosperity of the father. So you people say it's great and nothing wrong in it. So it depends on how they are placed, but this will happen. Saturn and Moon, again, it is, I have seen it creates disconnect between the mother and the son. Now Moon is water and Saturn is cold, which do not actually gel well, and Saturn and Moon can give you a lot of diseases, especially relating to spleen, biles, your the hormones which are secreted in the blood, the alkalines secreted in the blood. It creates issues there. So that it is, I have seen more that Saturn and Moon conjunction creates more of medical problems in my view. Saturn and Mars again together. I've explained you back that Saturn and Mars, but that was transiting Saturn over natal Mars. Saturn and Mars together, I have seen people who are actually who do well in life, but it depends which planet is ahead and which planet is at the back of it. Now, if Saturn in degrees is greater than Mars, I've seen that it does not do very well. However, if Mars is of a greater degree than Saturn, Saturn gives its energy to Mars, and it actually makes a person more determined. People with Saturn and Mars in conjunction or opposition are people who have some ideas, something to do, and in this today's world of startup, it is very important that such people, they are very clear in what they want to do, very focused. एक जिद होती है उनमें, करना है, we have to do this thing, and they take it to the logical end. Now, whether that thing will actually work out in their favor or they will go down would depend on various other factors which are there. But Saturn and Mars gives you kind of obstinacy, it gives you a kind of thing to do. It makes you, in Hindi they say एक word है खुंदकी, कि खुंदक होता है. And such people also, if they do well, they have one common trait that they can walk out of a situation and start things afresh. They can come from 100, they can come to 0, but they're not disturbed. They'll again start working to reach the top. A very good combination for industrialists and politicians. I've seen it in a lot of industrialists and politicians where Saturn and Mars are together, or Saturn and Mars are in opposition. So that way it is good. Saturn and Mercury, it is a good combination. It gives Mercury, which rules your communication, mathematics. In today's world, it rules your financing. It rules your making of how to work on the financial aspects of various things, how to structure a deal, etc. It's all with Mercury. Saturn gives its logic, it gives its perseverance, it gives it power. So it becomes very good for that. But however, Saturn and Mercury will create issues with nervous system, skin, and various other diseases. So Saturn and Mercury may be good for this thing, but not good for your nervous system. It is not good for skin issues. So that is important as far as Saturn, Mercury. Saturn, Venus again is very good as far as your financial prosperity is concerned. Saturn is very good as in Libra is concerned, but Saturn and Venus makes you prone towards a woman, prone towards taking a kind of approach towards luxury, which is not very positive. It can attract you to the things of life in an unconventional way. You have this tendency, very strong Saturn means make you very successful, but you would like to have a colorful life, or whatever way you want to say it. So that's how Saturn and Venus is there, and that's what it does. Saturn Rahu, Saturn Ketu. Saturn Rahu is again makes you very ambitious, makes you to work. It is very good for today's social media, computer hacking, those kinds of jobs. It's actually excellent. It makes you to really do well, but it has got this tendency of taking extremely unconventional routes to fulfill your objective. Saturn Ketu is good in terms of going inwards, but if not expected well, it can lead to depression and other things. Now, another thing which I want to explain to you is Saturn Jupiter, which is very important as far as I'm concerned. This as a conjunction of Saturn Jupiter is really it has been really confusing, and people have all kinds of theories behind it. They call it dharma, karma, and so many other things are there, because at the end of the day, it's it's the combination of the 9th and 10th Lord. But Saturn and Jupiter, remember one thing I've seen, what happens when Saturn and Jupiter are together, Jupiter gives its positive impact to Saturn, and Jupiter gives its energy to Saturn, and Saturn gives its energy to Jupiter. So what happens is Saturn becomes better and Jupiter becomes a negative. So whenever Saturn and Jupiter are together, I've seen it create problems in your family, in children, marriage, your attitude towards dharma. Dharma, you could have unconventional approach towards the dharma, but you will be attracted towards dharma, and then your whole happiness from relationships. So those things get affected when Saturn and Jupiter are there. I've seen a lot of horoscopes where Saturn and Jupiter together. Whichever house is placed, it will create issues with that particular house, as at least the emotional aspects of that house. If it is 5th house, it is child. If it is 7th house, I've seen people not getting married. But Saturn, Jupiter, again, you have to look at the house which is there, sign which is there, how it is placed in the Vamsha. But generally, Saturn, Jupiter, at conjunction, it spoils the tattvas of Jupiter and enhances the tattvas of Saturn. So things which are Jupiter as a karak, they certainly tend to get afflicted. So that's my take on Saturn and Jupiter, which is very important. Now, coming to Saturn as far as profession is concerned, it's again I want to tell you a theory of Bhrigu Nadi also, that whenever you see it aspecting, of course there are certain houses which it will give a fillip to, certain houses which it will give negative to. In the Bhrigu Nadi system, what they do is, suppose just one theory which I want to tell you, and that you can do it, that suppose Saturn is in ascendant. So whenever Saturn is in ascendant, it is 8th from the 6th house. So it creates issues it will create issues for 6th house. It is especially 3rd house, which is 8th from 8th. So it will have problems with the 8th house. It is 10th house, that is looks into the 10th house, which is again which is again 8th from the 5th from the 3rd house, which is again 8th from the 3rd house. So it will create issues with third house. So whenever ascendant Saturn is there, look at the aspects and see where the house is 8th from. Like the 3rd house was 8th, is 8th, 3rd house is 8th from 8th. So there are problems with the 8th house. If it is an ascendant, then the 8th house, it is 6th from the 8th house. So there are problems with the 6th house. Then when it is the 7th house, it is 8th from your 12th house. So these three houses, the 12th, 6th and the 8th house, they will get impacted. So ascendant Saturn will have issues which will impact your 6th, 8th and 12th houses, because as I explained you, ascendant is 8th from the 6th house. So 6th house gets impacted. It aspects the 3rd house. When it aspects this 3rd house, it is 3rd house is 8th from 8th. That is, the 8th house gets impacted. So 6th and 8th here get impacted. Similarly, you see for 7th house. 7th house is 8th from the 12th house. So 12th house gets impacted. So certainly there are the three houses, the 6th, 8th and 12th come into play. So these three houses, whenever Saturn is in ascendant, will create issues with 6th, 8th and 12th. And these three houses are basically houses which control your health. So health, danger due to health, dangers due to enemies. I mean, that you have to see with Dasha Bhukti, whether it is the enemies who will create problem, it will be diseases who will create problem with deaths, but certainly there are going to be issues here when Saturn is transiting ascendant. Now that is a principle of Bhrigu Nadi system, just I explained to you about Saturn. Saturn is very good when it transits the 3rd, 6th and 10th, and 3rd, 6th, 10th and 11th, which I've already explained, but apply this principle there also, because every planet has its positives as well, it will do negative. Now Saturn is a very important planet when it is placed in the 10th house. If it makes you, I mean, the normal thing is that if Saturn is in 10th house, condemn it. No. Saturn in the 10th house will make you the king. It is extremely important that Saturn in 10th house should not be condemned, because that is the planet which has the potential of putting you to very high positions. Now it depends how the Saturn is there in the 10th house. If Saturn is there in 10th house and it is, let's say, not well placed, it will put you to a high position. I've seen horoscopes of industrialists, politicians, normal people. It will suddenly put you to a track and take you above, but then suddenly make you fall down. So Saturn in 10th has got the potential of taking you up, but you fall down like a balloon. How will it go up? How will you fall down? I mean, that again, you have to see the horoscope in totality. You have to look at D9. But Saturn in 10th certainly has the potential in the horoscope then to put you up and then, make you to fall down. However, if this Saturn I have seen, and this is a thumb rule you can apply anywhere, if Saturn is in 10th house and is aspected by Jupiter, that is where the role of Jupiter comes in. Whenever Saturn with Jupiter conjunction is not good, it creates, I've told you what it does. It takes Jupiter's energy, and Saturn gives its energy to Jupiter, spoiling Jupiter. But when Saturn is in 10th house and is aspected by Jupiter, it will make you a man with sustainable growth. It will not only take you to the top, but maintain your position at the top. So that is what Saturn is there in 10th house. Also see the same thing when Saturn is there in your 7th house, or at other places which signify 2, 6, 10, 11, which signify houses of profession, 10th being the most important. So whenever Saturn is there in 10th house and it gets an aspect of Jupiter, look at the horoscope. Stop and look at the horoscope. It has the potential of a king which will remain a king. It's like, you know, being an Akbar or something of that sort in terms of your your profession, as far as profession is concerned. Here I'm just trying to randomly tell you about Saturn and whatever is coming to my mind. I mean, it's such a complicated planet, but whatever comes. So these are things which you can test and let me know about it. So Saturn, when in 10th, aspect of Jupiter, sustainable. Saturn in 10th, if it is weak in Navamsha, it is not in a good sign. It can take you to the top, but put you down. I mean, you look at Rahul Gandhi's horoscope, it has got Saturn debilitated in 10th house, though it has got the aspect of Jupiter, but Jupiter is the lord of 6th house. It also looks at Mars. Mars is in 12th house. So there are a lot of things which are there. I mean, it has brought him to that situation where he was on a kind of a run where he could have made it, but you know, it's not been able to sustain it. So I mean, this is one example, random example, but you have to discuss the horoscope in totality. So Saturn has that potential. I've seen other horoscopes where Saturn is, we'll talk about retrogression. Saturn retrograde in 10th house has again taken you to a high position, but again put you down. As far as Saturn is concerned, my own view of retrogression is that what is retrograde? That retrograde is Saturn is far away from the Sun. Now, Saturn is strong directly. Whenever Saturn becomes retrograde, it will make you work like a wheel. It will make you go around and around, round and round. It really creates your pressure and tensions. So that is my view of a retrograde planet, and that too specifically as far as Saturn is concerned. When its dasha will come, it will make you work in a way that you're going around. Sometimes you feel you're up, and sometimes you're down, and then again you're coming up. So it'll make you work, and especially if Saturn is there retrograde in various houses, it will create issues with that particular house, and especially things which are related emotionally, like Saturn in 5th house will cause delay in children. So this is how you have to look at Saturn when it is placed in the 10th house. So this is my take of certain things, aspects which I've tried to discuss about Saturn. Saturn as a planet, Saturn in relationship with Mars, Saturn in its transits, Saturn in relationship with various other planets. So, I mean, try these things out. I cannot do a long recording, so otherwise I can talk about Saturn, because that's the planet which is the kingmaker, which is the planet which governs your profession. It's a very important planet as far as the Bhrigu Nadi system is concerned. And this is a video where I've tried to give you some of my research, some of my observations which I've done. Let me know, because this is again a science which is based on statistics. You can contact me at connectingminds@gmail.com. You have my site. You can always mail to me. You can write to me. Thanks, and bye for now. Have a great day. Bye.